Life has a way of testing us, pushing us to the edge where giving up seems like the easiest option. But what if I told you that the very moment you're about to quit is the moment you're closest to your breakthrough? Have you ever been so close to giving up, so tired, so defeated, that quitting seemed like the only option left? But what if I told you you're often the closest to your breakthrough, right when you feel like quitting? What if the pain you're feeling now is shaping the strength you'll need tomorrow? What if every no, every failure, is secretly carving the path to your success? Have you ever felt like giving up? Like the weight of the world is on your shoulders, and no matter what you do, things just aren't working out? Have you ever stared at your dreams and thought, it's just not going to happen for me? Have you been in a place where the odds feel too overwhelming, and every step you take feels like you're walking uphill? And no matter how hard you try, there's always something blocking your way. I've been there, and I know I'm not the only one. It's that moment when the fire inside you seems to dim, and you're left wondering, why should I keep going? What's the point? But here's the truth. Everyone at some point feels like giving up. Every person, no matter how successful they look on the outside, has had moments where they wanted to throw in the towel. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that touches everyone, no matter where you are in life: why you shouldn't quit. It's easy to quit when everything feels overwhelming, when the road ahead looks like an endless stretch of obstacles, and when failure seems like a constant companion. But today, we're going to break down why sticking it out, even when it feels like the world is falling apart, is the key to success. Let me share with you a story of someone who faced immense failure and kept going. It's a story you probably heard before, but it's one that's worth repeating because it speaks to the core of what we're discussing today. Thomas Edison. We all know him as the inventor of the light bulb, but his journey wasn't easy. In fact, Edison is known for having failed over 1,000 times while trying to perfect the light bulb. Can you imagine? 1,000 failed attempts. That's a lot of disappointment, a lot of frustration, and a lot of reasons to quit. But here's the thing. Edison didn't see failure the way most people would. Instead of looking at each failure as a setback, he looked at it as a lesson. He famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 1,000 ways that won't work." Think about that for a second. He didn't let failure define him. He used it as a stepping stone to find a solution that would change the world. What if we all had that mindset? What if, instead of giving up, we kept trying? What if we took our failures not as signs to stop, but as markers pointing us in the direction of the right answer? You see, the difference between success and failure isn't always talent, money, or luck. More often than not, it's simply the ability to keep going when everyone else is ready to quit. That's what separates those who achieve their dreams from those who give up too soon. Imagine if Edison had given up on his 500th attempt. Imagine if he thought, "I've tried enough, it's not going to happen." The world would be a very different place today. The light bulb, electricity, and countless other inventions wouldn't be what they are now. And it's not just Edison. Oprah Winfrey, who is now one of the most influential women in the world, was told she was unfit for television. Can you imagine? But instead of quitting, she took that criticism and used it to fuel her drive, ultimately becoming the queen of daytime television and an icon of resilience. So, what does this mean for you? You might not be inventing a light bulb or building an empire like Oprah, but the principle remains the same. The road to your goals will be paved with challenges, obstacles, and yes, failure. But every time you fail, it's not a sign that you're not meant for success. It's proof that you're one step closer to your breakthrough. Right now, you may feel like quitting because of something in your life. Maybe a project, a relationship, a dream you're chasing, or even just your personal growth. But I want you to ask yourself this question. If I quit now, will I ever know what could have been? Will I ever find out what happens if I just keep pushing forward? I want to encourage you today. Don't quit. When it gets hard, when you feel like you're at the end of your rope, don't quit. When the path ahead looks impossible, don't quit. When people tell you it's not worth it, don't quit. When you start doubting yourself, don't quit. You might not see the results right away, but if you keep going, you're laying the foundation for your future success. You are closer than you think to the breakthrough you've been waiting for. Don't let this moment of difficulty define you. Let it build you up instead. So, the next time you're tempted to quit, remember this. Your success is built on the moments when you decide to keep going, keep pushing, keep striving. And remember that the world is full of people who gave up right before their dreams came true. Don't be one of them. I believe in you. So, don't quit. The best part of your journey is just ahead. Success doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, a journey that requires us to show up day in and day out, even on the days when we feel tired, frustrated, or unmotivated. Many people think success comes quickly or easily, but the truth is that the most successful people didn't get where they are because of a few lucky breaks. They got there because they kept showing up, even when things didn't seem to be moving forward. Consistency is the key to unlocking real progress. It's not the big leaps or giant steps that make the biggest difference. Instead, it's the steady, small actions taken over time that compound and lead to success. Let's take a moment to think about this. You've been working hard towards something, whether it's a career, a personal goal, or a relationship, and everything feels like it's getting too tough. You may feel like throwing the towel, but what happens if you stop now? What are the consequences of giving up, even when the finish line is just out of sight? Imagine your future self, a year from now, 5 years, even 10 years down the line. Do you see yourself looking back and feeling a sense of pride because you pushed through, or will you look back with regret, wishing you had kept going? Sometimes, the hardest moment of our journey are where growth happens. This question isn't meant to pressure you to keep going if it's not right for you. It's simply a reflection on the weight of your decisions. The question is asking you to consider the emotional and psychological impact of quitting now versus pushing through. If you quit now, you might avoid the struggle. But what you're also avoiding is the potential for success, growth, and learning. What will matter more to you in the future? The comfort of quitting or fulfillment of perseverance? In life, we all face challenges. Some are huge, and others may seem small, but we tend to let them define us. We think, this is it. This is the moment that determines who I am. But is it really? Think of your life as a book, with each day, each year, each experience being its own chapter. A single chapter doesn't make the entire story. If you are in a difficult chapter right now, maybe it's a period of financial struggle, career uncertainty, or personal heartbreak, it's important to recognize that this moment is only part of your story. Just like in a book, the story changes. A chapter of hardship is not the end of the book. In fact, it often sets up the turning point towards something better. You have the ability to turn the page and begin a new chapter of hope, growth, and resilience. How many of you have had experiences where, in the midst of struggle, you felt like everything was hopeless? But looking back now, you realize that the struggle was just one part of your journey, and it led you to a much stronger version of yourself. This moment doesn't define you. The bigger picture of your life is still unfolding. Keep going, because what's ahead could be better than you imagine. Here, we're getting to the heart of what keeps many of us stuck. Fear. Fear of failure is powerful. It can paralyze us, stop us from taking risks, and hold us back from reaching our full potential. But what if we flip the script for a second? What if we focus more on our desire to succeed, that driving force, that motivation to achieve our goals, to live a life of purpose and fulfillment? The truth is, fear and desire are both powerful forces in our lives. However, desire to succeed can be the one that drives you to act, to overcome setbacks, and to keep moving forward. Fear can hold you back, but desire can propel you forward. Ask yourself this: what is stronger in your life right now? Your fear of failing or your dream of succeeding? And why do you let one control you more than the other? Failure is often seen as something negative, something to avoid or fear. However, the truth is quite the opposite. Failure is an essential part of any successful journey. It's not a roadblock, it's an opportunity. Every failure, no matter how big or small, serves as a lesson, providing invaluable insights that guide us closer to our goals. The fear of failure. Many people avoid taking risks because they fear failure. This fear can keep us stuck, preventing us from trying new things. Failures are not signs of defeat. They are proof that you are trying. Trying is the first step toward growth and achievement. Success is not about avoiding failure, but about learning from it, adjusting, and continuing to move forward. As long as we keep trying, we are progressing. even if it doesn't feel like it at the time. Embrace your failures, learn from them, and use them as fuel for your journey. They are the stepping stones to the success you're working toward. So, don't fear them, welcome them, and know that each failure brings you closer to your goal. You could relate this to a story of someone overcoming fear. Imagine the athlete who gets up every day, even when their body is exhausted. Why do they do it? It's not because they are fearless. It's because their desire to succeed is greater than their fear of failure. Fear will always be there, but if you let it take over, it will limit your potential. Your desire to succeed must become stronger than your fear of failure. When that happens, you unlock your true power. It's okay to feel fear. It's okay to have doubts. The key is not letting those emotions decide your actions. Instead of quitting, shift your focus. Think about the bigger picture. And remember, your current struggle is just one chapter in your book. Keep writing. So, I encourage you, take a step back and ask yourself these questions. And remember, no matter what you're facing right now, you have the power to change the course of your journey. Don't quit. Your story isn't over yet. There's a moment when things get tough, when quitting seems like the easy option. The pressure mounts, the hurdles feel insurmountable, and the idea of walking away seems like a relief. But here's the truth. Quitting might feel easy in the moment, but it comes with a price that you'll carry with you for the rest of your life. When life gets difficult, the thought of quitting feels like a shortcut to relief. You imagine the weight lifting, the stress fading, and the comfort of walking away from the struggle. But what many of us fail to realize is that temporary pain, the kind that pushes us to the edge, can often lead to permanent pride, the kind that stays with us long after the struggle ends. Pain, whether it's physical, emotional, or mental, is often what stands between us and our goals. It's uncomfortable, and it feels unbearable at times. But this pain is temporary. It doesn't last forever. It's the discomfort that precedes growth and change. Think about the first time you learned something difficult, whether it was a new skill, an academic subject, or even a workout routine. In the beginning, it felt impossible. You might have even wanted to quit. But once you pushed through, that pain turned into something meaningful. You gained new strength, new knowledge, or new confidence. On the other side of pain is pride. Not just the pride of achieving a goal, but the deeper, quieter pride that comes from knowing you didn't give up when it was hard. The pride that tells you, I can do hard things. This pride stays with you. It's a part of your identity. Think of a moment when you face something challenging. Maybe a difficult exam, a tough personal situation, or an intense work project. When you look back at that moment, the memory isn't the struggle, it's the pride you felt when you persevered. That pride shapes your future, makes you bolder, and reminds you of your own resilience. When we stand at the crossroads of quitting or continuing, there's a question we must ask ourselves. What's harder, pushing through the discomfort now, or living with the what if forever? What if you gave up just one step before the breakthrough? What if you quit right before the opportunity came? That's a question no one can answer but you. The what if is a powerful thing. It's the haunting question that lingers long after we've made a decision. What if we had tried just a little harder? What if we had taken that last leap of faith? Living with the what if can be far worse than enduring temporary pain. It's that nagging feeling of regret that follows you, reminding you of the dream you almost had. Imagine a person who had a dream to start a business, but gave up after the first failed attempt. They always wonder, what if I had tried again? What if I had pushed harder? That lingering regret often becomes a shadow in their life, a constant reminder of what could have been. When you choose to keep going, when you push through that moment of discomfort, you make a decision that your future self will thank you for. You might not see the reward immediately, but you will look back one day and realize that the toughest times were the ones that shaped you the most. Think of a time when you pushed through despite feeling like giving up, whether it was finishing a difficult task, recovering from a setback, or taking on a personal challenge. The pride you felt afterward didn't come from the ease of the process, but from your ability to keep going when you could have quit. Quitting may seem like a release, but it's a temporary fix. In the moment, it may feel like the pressure is lifted, but over time, the consequences of quitting settle in. The truth is, when we quit, we're not just giving up on the task at hand. We're also giving up on the growth that comes from overcoming the challenge. The emotional cost of quitting is something many don't realize until later. It's the disappointment in yourself, the second guessing of your abilities, and the nagging thought that you weren't capable enough to stick it out. Quitting may seem like freedom now, but it can feel like a chain in the long run. Think about a time when you walked away from something, a job, a relationship, a project, and at first it felt like a relief. But over time, you realize that walking away didn't free you. It left you with a void. You were left with that lingering question, what could I have achieved if I had kept going? When you decide to push through, you're not just enduring pain. You're shaping your character. You're building resilience. And you're proving to yourself that you are capable of far more than you ever thought possible. Every time you face adversity and decide not to quit, you're building a stronger version of yourself. It's like exercising a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it becomes. The challenges you face today become the strength you carry tomorrow. Reflect on people who face incredible hardships but didn't quit. Athletes who trained for years to reach the top. Entrepreneurs who failed multiple times but found success, or individuals who overcame health challenges. They didn't quit because they knew the strength they built along the way would carry them further than any easy path could. Consider this. What will you regret more, the temporary discomfort of pushing through now, or the lifelong regret of wondering, what if? The pain you feel now will fade, but the pride of achieving something great will stay with you forever. Think of someone who faced a tough career decision, stuck it out to the hard times, and eventually succeeded. When they look back, they don't remember the sleepless nights or the setbacks. They remember the victory. They remember the joy of knowing that they didn't quit when they could have. So, next time you're faced with the temptation to quit, remember this. Quitting feels easy in the moment, but it's a decision you'll regret forever. Push through the pain now, and the pride you'll feel later will be worth it. Your future self will thank you for not giving up. And when you look back, you'll know that the hardest battles are the ones that made you stronger, wiser, and more capable than ever before. Have you ever looked at a diamond and thought about how it was formed? A thing of pure beauty, right? But what we often forget is that diamonds are made under intense pressure. They don't form in comfort or ease. They're shaped through hardship, through stress, through being pushed to their absolute limits. The same is true for us. Growth doesn't happen when everything is easy. It happens when we face challenges, when we are under pressure, when life throws us curveballs. And today, I want to talk about why growth only happens through pressure. Pressure is uncomfortable. It forces us out of our comfort zones and pushes us to do things we never thought possible. It's only when we're under pressure that we begin to truly evolve, break old patterns, and create new ones. Think about a time in your life when you were pushed to your limits. How did that pressure change you? What lessons did you learn that you might not have learned if things had been easy? Think about going through a tough time in your career or personal life. When everything seemed uncertain, you may have struggled, but in the end, you came out stronger, more resilient, and with a better understanding of yourself. It was the pressure of those situations that push you to grow. Pressure doesn't have to break us. It can shape us into something stronger. It's like the coal that, under extreme heat and pressure, becomes a diamond. Diamonds are one of the hardest substances on Earth, but they weren't created in comfort. They were formed over millions of years, deep beneath the Earth's surface, where heat and pressure work together to transform carbon into something beautiful and precious. Would you rather stay in a place of comfort, where things are easy but nothing changes, or would you choose to face pressure and become something stronger, something greater? Imagine you're sitting in your comfort zone, where everything feels safe. But over time, nothing grows there. Nothing expands. You remain the same person you were yesterday. Now, think of a time when you pushed yourself beyond what you thought was possible. Perhaps you took on a new challenge, faced a tough situation, or tackled a new project at work. That pressure forced you to grow in ways you never expected. Comfort might feel good in the moment, but it's under pressure, the difficult times, that we truly transform. Without pressure, we remain stagnant. Growth doesn't happen because things are easy. It's the struggles, the obstacles, and the moments when everything seems to be falling apart that are actually shaping you into the person you need to become. Have you ever faced a challenge that at the time felt like a setback, but later you realized it was the best thing that ever happened to you? How did that struggle lead you to grow? Think about a difficult relationship or a challenging time at work. At first, it felt like failure or disappointment. But as time went on, you learned something valuable. Maybe a new skill, a new perspective, or a strength you didn't know you had. Those struggles were essential for your growth. Struggles help us build resilience. They help us develop a thicker skin and a deeper understanding of ourselves. It's through those tough times that we become more capable, more adaptable, and more confident. A growth mindset is the understanding that challenges are opportunities for growth. Instead of seeing pressure as something to avoid, we can choose to see it as part of the process, an essential ingredient to becoming the best version of ourselves. When faced with a tough situation, do you see it as an obstacle or an opportunity to learn and grow? Consider a time when you face a challenging project or a new responsibility at work. It might have seemed overwhelming at first, but as you tackle the challenge, you learn new things, gain new skills, and realize you were capable of more than you thought. Embrace pressure as part of the process. It's not something to fear, but something to welcome because it's helping you grow. Every challenge is an opportunity to become stronger, more skilled, and more confident in your abilities. We all have untapped potential inside us, but it's only when we're under pressure that we often discover what we're truly capable of. It's through these moments that we push past our limits and uncover hidden strengths and abilities. Have you ever surprised yourself with what you were able to achieve under pressure? What strengths did you discover about yourself when you were pushed beyond your limits? Remember a time when you faced a challenge that made you feel completely overwhelmed. Maybe you didn't think you could make it through, but in the end, you came out the other side stronger with a greater sense of self-belief. Pressure reveals your potential. It helps you tap into strengths you never knew you had, and it helps you evolve into the person you're meant to be. Growth takes time. It's not something that happens overnight, and it's important to be patient with the process. Just like a diamond needs time to form, you need time to grow, develop, and evolve. When you think about your biggest goals, are you willing to give yourself time to grow into the person who can achieve them? Think about a goal you've been working toward, whether it's personal growth, career development, or something else. It takes time. The pressure you're under now will eventually lead to growth, but it requires patience and perseverance. Be patient with yourself. Understand that growth is a process. Pressure might feel uncomfortable, but it's leading you somewhere beautiful. It just takes time. Growth only happens when we embrace pressure, when we step out of our comfort zones, take on challenges, and keep pushing ourselves despite the discomfort. Remember, diamonds are made under pressure, and so are you. So, the next time life gets tough, instead of running away, ask yourself, would I rather stay safe and small or fight and grow? The choice is yours, and it's in your hands. The kind of journey where each step feels heavier than the last, and the path is filled with obstacles? We've all been there. Life, success, dreams, they can all feel like a tough mountain climb. But here's the truth. The journey is supposed to be hard. It's this very struggle that gives the destination its true meaning. It's what makes the end worth it. Just like climbing a mountain, the journey to our dreams, success, or personal growth can be physically and emotionally exhausting. It's not easy. If it were easy, it wouldn't have a value it does. The struggle is what shapes us, teaches us, and builds our resilience. Imagine you're standing at the base of a mountain, looking up at the peak. You see the summit, and it looks so inviting. But getting there requires effort, sweat, and pain. You take your first step, then your second, but every step feels harder than the last. The incline is steep, the terrain uneven, and the air thinner the higher you go. It's tough. Just like climbing a mountain, life pushes you to your limits. But with every step, you become stronger. The struggle is not just a part of the journey. It is a journey itself. It's easy to look at successful people and assume they've always had it easy. But success is rarely handed over on a silver platter. It's earned. The pain, the challenges, the setbacks, they are not signs of failure. They are stepping stones. Think of climbing a mountain. At times, the ascent is grueling. You might slip, stumble, or even want to give up. You might question, is it worth it? Will I make it? But just as in life, each painful step brings you closer to the summit. Without those hard steps, you wouldn't appreciate the view when you reach the top. Growth happens during the struggle. When things get tough, remember that it's the pain that is making you stronger. It's not there to defeat you, but to push you closer to your goals. When you're in the middle of a challenge, it's easy to get lost in the discomfort. The mountain seems too high and the peak too distant, but it's crucial to remember why you started in the first place. While you're climbing, it's easy to lose sight of the summit. You may be too focused on the rocks in front of you, the sweat in your eyes, or the fatigue in your muscles. But when you finally reach the top and take in the view, the pain of the climb becomes a distant memory, replaced with an overwhelming sense of accomplishment. Always remember why you're climbing the mountain. The struggle may feel all-consuming, but when you reach your goal, the reward will far outweigh the pain. Every step counts, even when it feels like nothing is changing. When climbing a mountain, each step feels small. There are moments when you feel like you've made little progress, and the summit seems just as far away as when you started. But remember, every step, no matter how small, is progress. It's all part of the bigger journey. As you climb, you may not always see the difference in the landscape from one step to the next. The path may feel the same, but when you pause and look back, you'll realize just how far you've come. In life, progress doesn't always feel big or obvious, but if you keep moving forward, even in small increments, you'll look back one day and see just how far you've come. When you finally reach the top of the mountain, the view is breathtaking. You see the world laid out beneath you, and in that moment, all the pain and struggle seem worth it. The journey you've been on, no matter how difficult, has led you to this moment, a moment of clarity, pride, and accomplishment. Think about how you feel after a long and exhausting climb. When you reach the summit and gaze at the world from above, you realize that it was never just about reaching the peak. It was about everything you learned along the way, the strength you gained, and the person you became in the process. The destination is beautiful, but it's the journey that transforms you. When you look back at the path you've walked, you'll see that it wasn't the mountain that was hard. It was the growth you experienced climbing it that made the view from the top so worth it. We often focus so much on the destination that we forget to appreciate the journey itself. The hard moments are not just obstacles. They are experiences that teach us, shape us, and prepare us for what's to come. When you reach the top of the mountain, you may feel exhausted, but there's an undeniable sense of fulfillment. The climb, though difficult, has given you a perspective that you wouldn't have had without the struggle. The beauty of the journey is in the challenges that prepare you for the reward. Both the journey and the end are worth it. The struggle is an essential part of the experience that makes the achievement that much sweeter. Remember, the mountain climb might be tough, and the journey may seem endless, but don't let the hard moments discourage you. The view from the top is unmatched, and the growth you gain along the way is invaluable. The journey is supposed to be hard. That's what makes it meaningful. So keep climbing. The end is worth it. And when you finally reach the summit, you'll see that the struggle was never a burden, but a necessary part of your growth. What's one challenge you're currently facing that feels like a mountain to climb? How can you shift your perspective to see the value in the journey? We often hear about perseverance, resilience, and the importance of pushing through challenges. But have you ever thought about quitting as a habit? Yes, quitting, like any other action, is something you practice over time, just as perseverance is. Now, you might be thinking, wait, quitting is a bad thing. Why would I want to make quitting a habit? And you're right. Quitting can hold you back in many areas of life. But what if I told you that quitting doesn't have to be a permanent choice? That instead, quitting can be a habit you can unlearn, just like you can develop the habit of persevering. Let's dive into how this works. Every time you face a challenge and choose to walk away from it, even if it feels like the best option at the time, you're strengthening the habit of quitting. Quitting doesn't always look like giving up in dramatic ways. Sometimes, it's as simple as choosing to give in when things get hard instead of pushing through. Each time you walk away from a problem without solving it, your brain registers that as a default response. The habit of quitting doesn't happen overnight. It's built slowly, step by step, through small decisions where we avoid the discomfort or difficulty. It's easy to give up when things get tough, but it's these moments that define whether you'll strengthen the habit of quitting or start building a mindset of perseverance. Now, let's talk about the flip side perseverance. Just like quitting, perseverance is something you can practice. Every time you choose to keep going, even when it's difficult, you are strengthening the habit of perseverance. Here's the key. Just because something is hard doesn't mean it's not worth pursuing. In fact, the most valuable achievements in life often come from pushing through those hard moments. Every time you persist, you build your mental and emotional muscles, and the more you practice perseverance, the easier it becomes to stick with things in the future. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from challenges. It's the strength to continue even when setbacks occur. On the other hand, surrendering is giving up, but it's not just a one-time action. Surrendering or quitting is a habit. The more we practice surrendering, the more likely we are to do it again when challenges arise. Ask yourself, am I practicing the habit of resilience or the habit of surrender? This question forces you to take a hard look at your choices, your mindset, and your actions. When life gets difficult, are you learning to dig deeper, to be resilient and keep going? Or are you defaulting to the habit of quitting, telling yourself, I just can't do this anymore? Resilience doesn't require grand gestures. It's about the small wins that accumulate over time. Maybe it's not finishing everything you planned for the day, but it's taking one more step when you feel exhausted. Or maybe it's overcoming one small obstacle when everything around you seems to be falling apart. Each time you choose to push through instead of quit, you're building resilience. The more you build these small victories, the stronger your resilience becomes, and soon enough, perseverance won't feel so difficult. It will become second nature. Every time you decide to keep going instead of quitting, you're shaping your mindset. You're telling your brain, I am capable. I can handle this. It may not feel easy, but with every choice to persevere, your mindset shifts. It grows stronger. And over time, this resilience becomes an automatic response to challenges rather than quitting. But here's the kicker. You don't build this mindset by always succeeding. In fact, it's often the struggles, the times when it seems hardest to keep going, that give you the most opportunity for growth. The habit of perseverance is built through those tough times. Let's bring this to everyday situations. Maybe you're working on a long-term project that's taking more time than you expected, or you're trying to build a new habit and you're facing setbacks. At these moments, you can choose to quit, telling yourself, I'm not good enough, or I don't have time for this. Or you can choose to persevere, even if it means taking a smaller step than you had planned. Each time you make the choice to keep going, you're telling yourself that you are capable of more. These small decisions, whether in work, school, or your personal life, all contribute to either strengthening the habit of quitting or perseverance. So, which habit are you building today? Are you practicing the habit of quitting or the habit of persevering? Remember, quitting may seem easy in the short term, but perseverance is what gets you where you want to go in the long run. Every time you face a challenge and choose to keep going, you're strengthening your mindset. And with every choice to persevere, you're one step closer to achieving your dreams. Take a moment to reflect on your life. Am I practicing the habit of resilience or the habit of surrender? If you've been leaning towards quitting, it's never too late to change that habit. Start today by choosing perseverance, no matter how small the step may seem. Trust me, you got this. We've all faced challenges in life, moments when it feels like the world is caving in and we're standing at the edge of something we can't handle. At times, the weight of everything seems unbearable, and you may feel like giving up is the only choice. But here's the truth. You are stronger than you think. The human spirit has an incredible ability to survive even the storms we believe will destroy us. Let's take a moment to truly understand what that means. The human spirit is an incredibly resilient force. When we go through hardships, be it loss, failure, disappointment, or struggles with mental and physical health, it often feels like we're on the brink of breaking. Yet, most of the time, we find a way to stand up even when we think we can't. Think about a moment when you felt like you couldn't go any further, yet somehow you found the strength to keep going. What gave you that strength? Consider the stories of people who have survived traumatic events, natural disasters, accidents, or personal tragedies. These individuals were not immune to the pain or fear, but they found an inner strength that allowed them to keep moving forward. That strength comes from the human spirit, an unspoken will to survive and rise above adversity. Life will throw challenges at you that seem impossible to overcome. But if you look deep within, you'll realize that the strength to get through them is already there. It's not about the circumstances. It's about the will to keep going, no matter what. One of the most powerful aspects of human strength lies in how our mind and body interact. When you're faced with a difficult situation, your mind is often first to tell you to stop, to quit, to give up. But your body and spirit, they can endure much longer than you think. Have you ever been exhausted, physically drained, and yet somehow found the energy to push through when you thought you had nothing left? Think about a time when you were physically exhausted, maybe after a long workday or an intense workout. Your body feels like it's done, but then something inside you clicks and you find the energy to keep going. That's your spirit taking over, reminding you that your mind doesn't always know what's possible. Your body and spirit can often go much farther than you think, but it's your mind that gets in the way. When you feel like quitting, remember that your mind is just offering its opinion. Your body and spirit have the capacity to go beyond what the mind thinks is possible. That inner strength is limitless. Perseverance is the ability to keep going, even when it feels impossible. When you face challenges, perseverance doesn't mean you're never afraid or never discouraged. It means you keep moving forward, despite those feelings. That's the strength we all carry within us. Can you think of a time when you wanted to quit, but you decided to push just a little further and something amazing happened? Think about the athletes who run marathons or those who climb mountains. They know the pain, the exhaustion, and the overwhelming desire to stop. But what keeps them going isn't just physical strength. It's the understanding that they have more inside them than they can see. They've learned that they are stronger than they think, and they tap into that inner power when their mind tries to stop them. Perseverance isn't about never struggling. It's about finding the strength to keep going, even when your mind is telling you to quit. Your ability to keep moving forward, despite the difficulties, will make you stronger in the long run. Trusting the process, even when it feels like nothing is working. Sometimes, you may feel like you've hit a dead end, that your efforts are futile, and that all the work you've put in is for nothing. But that's when the magic happens. Trusting the process means understanding that growth doesn't always show up immediately. Sometimes, you need to keep pushing forward without knowing exactly how things will turn out. Have you ever worked on something for so long, and it felt like you weren't getting anywhere? But looking back, you see how far you've come. There are countless stories of people who persevered in the face of overwhelming odds. Take inventors, entrepreneurs, or creators who were told they would fail. At times, their journey seemed to go nowhere, but they trusted the process. They kept going, and eventually their efforts paid off. Trusting the process is an act of belief in your own strength. It means you understand that even when progress is invisible, you are still moving forward. Keep pushing forward, because growth is happening. Even if you can't see it yet, believing in your own strength is vital. The human mind has an amazing capacity for self-doubt, but once you start believing in your own power, everything changes. When you believe that you're stronger than you think, you unlock a whole new level of potential. When was the last time you doubted yourself, but then surprised yourself by doing something incredible? Think of a time when you accomplished something you didn't believe you could do. Maybe it was a big test, a presentation, or even something as simple as making it through a tough day. The key was believing in yourself, even when you weren't sure you could. And that belief in your own strength is what pushed you to succeed. Self-belief is a choice. It's a decision to recognize that you are capable, even when your mind tries to convince you otherwise. Once you make that decision, your strength becomes limitless. Remember this: you are stronger than you think. Your mind may try to convince you to quit, but your body and spirit are capable of far more than you realize. Trust in yourself, trust in the process, and keep going, because you've already survived the hardest part, the doubt and the fear. The rest? That's just a journey toward greatness. You know, one of the biggest truths in life is that you could be one step away from your breakthrough, one step away from everything you've been working for. Think about it. Many of the greatest success stories were moments away from quitting. The difference between those who made it and those who didn't wasn't necessarily talent or luck. It was a decision to keep going, even when the path seemed impossible. You probably heard it before. Success is just around the corner. But how many times have you felt like giving up, especially when you were so close? Have you ever had a moment when you felt like throwing in the towel, but then something unexpected happened? Think about some of the most successful people in history. People like Thomas Edison, Michael Jordan, Oprah Winfrey. Each of them faced rejection, failure, and disappointment. But in their darkest moments, they chose not to quit. Edison famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That's perseverance, and it's that one extra step that leads to the big wins. Key insight, many times, success comes right after our toughest struggles. It's like standing at the edge of a cliff. The view is breathtaking, but you have to take the leap. That one last effort is often the one that makes the difference. This phrase is more than just a poetic line. It's a reminder that struggles often precede growth. The hardest times in our lives often give birth to the greatest opportunities. The challenges you face today could be preparing you for something much bigger tomorrow. Think about your hardest moments. Have you ever looked back and realized that the struggle was worth it because it helped you grow? Picture this, a seed in the ground. It has to break through the soil, push through the darkness, and withstand the pressure before it can bloom into something beautiful. You're like that seed. The pressure you feel now, the challenges you face, are shaping you into something stronger. And just like the seed, the sunlight or your success will come. Growth doesn't happen in comfort. The greatest transformations come after you've been through the fire. When life feels toughest, that's often when your breakthrough is closest. The darkest nights may seem endless, but they always give way to brighter days. When you feel like quitting, it's not about how hard things are. It's about deciding to keep going, even when it seems hopeless. Perseverance is a key that unlocks the door to success. Every step, no matter how small, is progress. When was the last time you felt like quitting, but you pushed through? What did you learn about yourself in that moment? Think of a runner in the final stretch of a marathon. Their body is aching, their energy is low, and every muscle wants to give up. But it's at that moment, that final push, that they cross the finish line. They don't give up when they're tired. They keep running, even when it's hard. Success doesn't come from avoiding challenges. It comes from showing up day after day, especially when you don't feel like it. Those who push through the toughest moments are the ones who achieve the most. Sometimes we look at success as a giant leap, but the truth is, it's often made up of tiny steps that seem insignificant at the time. Consistency over time is what leads to real change. What small, consistent actions are you taking right now that you might not see the results of yet? Consider a sculptor carving a statue. Each chisel hit seems small and insignificant, but as time passes, the shape begins to emerge. The statue wasn't created in one big move. It was formed with small, consistent actions over time. Don't discount the small steps. They add up, and before you know it, you'll have achieved something incredible. It's easy to look at the final result and think it happened overnight, but behind every success is a series of consistent efforts that took place long before the reward was visible. The hardest part of the journey is often the last mile. When you feel like you're exhausted, worn out, and defeated, that's often when you're closest to reaching your goal. The moment before a breakthrough is often the toughest, but it's also when you're the closest to success. Can you think of a time when you were about to give up, but you decided to keep going and it paid off in the end? Look at the story of J.K. Rowling. Before Harry Potter became the global phenomenon it is today, Rowling was rejected by multiple publishers. In fact, her manuscript was turned down 12 times. Imagine if she had given up after the first few rejections, or after the 10th. She was one rejection away from quitting, but instead, she kept pushing. And the rest, as they say, is history. The lesson here is that you might be closer than you think. Success is just around the corner, but you can't give up before you get there. Remember this, you are one step away from a breakthrough. The struggles you're facing right now might feel like they're holding you back, but in reality, they are preparing you for something amazing. Keep pushing, keep going. The darkest nights produce the brightest stars. Your star is coming, and you're closer than you think. What's one challenge you're facing right now that feels overwhelming? Share your thought in the comments below, and let's support each other to keep going. Don't quit. You're tired. not finished. You're hurting, not broken. You're doubting, not defeated. This is where champions are made, right at the point where most people give up. So don't quit. Your future self is already thanking you. Remember, success isn't just about what you achieve, but about pushing through the challenges. So don't quit. The journey may be tough, but it's in those tough moments where the real growth happens. Keep going and you'll get there. If this video resonated with you, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs that reminder to keep going. Stay strong, and I'll see you in the next one.